Alright, so whatever you know about ASUS up until now, forget it. This is on a whole new level. So this is the ASUS ProArt Studiobook 16. It's a 16-inch OLED laptop, and I'm going to run you through some of the specs, a real-world test, and just kind of give you the rundown on this machine, because honestly, that's exactly what this is. This is a machine. So if it's your first time here and you're wondering what is ASUS ProArt and what is this whole ProArt thing, basically ASUS has the technology to create gaming laptops, as you know, put in immense amount of computer power into a small compact device, but at the same time, creators and creatives and 3D designers and video editors and photographers, we need that power too. And that's when ProArt was born. When I get into the real world test, I am going to give it a proper real world test. In other words, 5.7K 60 frames per second 10-bit footage, just to see if we can light it up. But first, let me tell you something. The ASUS ProArt unboxing experience is truly one of a kind. It really gives you this premium classic feel, you know, something that hasn't just been kind of done over the top. It's very thought out, and they've thought about the creator in mind and what creatives appreciate. So first, let's start with build quality and design. Now with the ASUS ProArt range, it's nothing like any other laptop that you've used before. The ASUS ProArt design is really exclusive and unique to what they create, and this can be seen across with their ProArt display. The surface has a great feel. It doesn't show fingerprints too much. Even the arrow keys and the keyboard have a little different design just to make feeling them a little easier. And the keyboard even has a number pad on the side. And then we have the ports. Now I think quite a few manufacturers that are dedicated to creators could start taking quite a few notes from ASUS ProArt. On the one side, you have an SD Express 7.0 card reader, an audio jack, USB 3.2 Gen 2, and an RJ45 LAN port. The other side has a standard security lock, another USB 3.2 Gen 2, DC-in, HDMI 2.1, Thunderbolt 4 USB-C, and another USB-C 3.2. Now just before I get into the specs on the inside, and you might have seen that little ASUS Dial, I haven't forgotten about it, and I'm going to get to that shortly. Now the specs of the ASUS ProArt are quite honestly insane. However, the display is where I'm going to start, because when you open this laptop and you see that display, you would literally want to buy it from that point. It's the world's first 16-inch 4K OLED 16:10 HDR display. It has a peak brightness of 550 nits, 3840 by 2400 pixels, tiny bezels, 100% DCI-P3, Pantone certified, Kalman verified. I'll even give it the Rich verified. You see that there? That is the ASUS ProArt display. When I first got that display, was leaps and bounds ahead of everything else that I had looked at. This display on the ProArt Studiobook is even better than that. And that is saying a lot. Also, side by side, pairing an ASUS ProArt Studiobook with a ProArt display like that, it's truly a professional look and feel. And yes, you can do the one USB-C cable charge and dual display that everybody wants, so you don't have to worry about too many wires. And then right up there, there's a webcam. And yes, it has a webcam shield. Then you have the specs. Now the model I sent over for review has the Intel Xeon 2.6 GHz processor, 64 gigs DDR4, 3200 megahertz of RAM, the RTX A3000 graphics card from NVIDIA, and you can go up to 4 terabytes SSD storage, which is 2 terabytes PCIe X4 and 2 terabytes PCIe 3X4. You know what? Besides for confusing you with all the specs on the SSD, let me tell you this. It has up to 7,000 megabytes per second transfer speed. So basically, it's taking SATA 3 and making it look like a floppy disk. Now remember I told you about that HDMI 2.1 port on the one side? Well, that port allows you to do 10K, 60 Hz, and 120 Hz. So yeah, you can put in a 120Hz 10K display connected to your StudioBook. You also have sound by Harman Kardon and DTS. And no, I'm not joking. This list just keeps going on, and I could probably never tell you everything that is in this laptop. Now, as far as I know, ASUS is launching kind of 3 segments with this ProArt Studiobook range, which is namely premium, mainstream, and value. Now, the model that I have falls in the mainstream segment, so by no means is this model the fastest model that you can buy. Now, just before I get into the real world tests, I do want to give you a little bit more of an off-the-cuff, things that I don't find just fell into categories of specs. Hear me out. The new ASUS Dial. Now, not too long ago when I reviewed the ProArt, and I've had quite a few ASUS laptops, they had that little screen pad 2.0, and I still kind of left my opinion on it that I thought it was great, but something wasn't really right yet, especially when it came to creators. And ASUS now just dropped this ASUS Dial. And honestly, if you've worked in Lightroom or Premiere Pro, or you've ever worked with a Dial, this thing is mind-blowing. The fact that you can just toggle settings in Lightroom and just kind of switch to what you want. If you want to adjust your highlights and just scroll the wheel and tap it and go back and go to your contrast, whatever it may be, it's perfect. And something that only after a while of actually using it that you'd find out is a little thing like this. If you tap it and you move into contrast and you turn the wheel, let's say contrast is one of the things that you usually use as a setting, and you carry on working with your mouse, the little ASUS Dial icon disappears on the screen, and as soon as you turn it again, because you've never moved out of contrast, it just automatically goes into contrast again and you continue turning it. So if you're very into adjusting, let's say for instance your timeline on Premiere Pro, yes, it pretty much works with like 4 or 5 different Adobe apps. You could always leave it in that setting and just literally turn it and expand your timeline or scrub on your timeline so that you don't have to go in and out and switch between settings. It's little things like that that make the ASUS Dial very perfect. Now, you may have noticed there are 3 buttons on the trackpad, and if you're wondering, well, you've got left click, right click, what is the middle one? Well, if you're a 3D designer and you work in that 3D design kind of space, if you want to pan, rotate, or orbit, you can literally hold that button down, and if you're working in 3D software, you can utilize that just to kind of on the fly just go and do your thing. Honestly, this is where ProArt changes compared to the competition. It's a very, very niche laptop directed for creatives, and it's something that needs to be appreciated in the industry because a lot of us are always out there trying to get extra third-party products to help us along our journey. And ASUS is right there knocking on the door saying, hey, we've got a whole product that works. And if that wasn't enough, that little trackpad, yeah, they just made it work with the stylus too. So enough with all the talking, let's get to the real world test. Because if the real world test can't impress me, well then I wouldn't be recommending this to you, would I? So check this out. So first things first, we're going to do a real world test on photos and then video. So for photos, I took 100 raw images, 36 megapixels each photo, and applied different settings, exposure, contrast, etc. However, all images had to have sharpness and noise reduction applied. As you know, working in Lightroom, once you apply sharpness and noise reduction, it really accentuates the time and pretty much ignites your laptop into a burning fire, just due to the processing power that it consumes to sharpen and noise reduce raw photos, especially when they're 36 megapixels. Then we decided to export it and time it. We exported 100 images in 4 minutes and 28 seconds. Now, that is blistering fast. Okay, so I can do photos. What about video? What about 4K video? I'm not even going to go into HD because I believe anything should be able to do HD footage. So we threw in 4K video and we basically created a 1 minute, 21 minute, 30 video full of color adjustments and a bit of sharpness applied to the video clips. Now, firstly, we scrubbed on the timeline at a 1:1 preview. Now, it's been quite a while since I've played on good Windows laptops that have been able to scrub 1:1 previews in Adobe Premiere Pro. So fast and so quick after just bringing the footage in. Even after color correcting, and it's immediately there and ready to scrub. So what we did was export the 4K footage in just normal 4K export, as most people would, which is a fairly low bitrate. It exported it in 55 seconds, which is crazy fast, but fair enough. As a creative, we don't really use the low bitrate. It's pretty much something that normal people do. So what we did was we took the same video and upped the bitrate to the max bitrate, still export in 4K, and we timed it again. The export took a total time of 3 minutes and 10 seconds. And then we decided to bring in 5.7K, 60 frames per second, 10-bit footage off the new Lumix GH6. Now this footage is pretty intensive to any system. Immediately we tried to scrub on the timeline, and the next minute, well, what we thought was the limit of the ProArt Studiobook was in fact just Adobe Premiere Pro being Adobe Premiere Pro. So we closed the application, opened it again, and immediately started scrubbing on the 5.7K timeline. Color corrected everything, the same length video at a minute 20, minute 30, and just decided to go full and export it at its max bit rate on 5.7K, and it took 7 minutes and 11 seconds. Yes, the ASUS ProArt Studiobook 16 handles 5.7K 10-bit footage like a breeze. This is hands down the fastest laptop that I have personally used, and I've come to know quite a few different laptops along my journey as a creator. Now if you stay till the end and you're wondering, well, where's the cons? What is the catch with this ASUS ProArt Studiobook? I'm sorry to tell you, there is nothing. There is nothing bad that I can find on this laptop. Everything works. It's perfect. It's fast. It feels good. Even the keyboard, the way the buttons push, everything about this laptop is so perfect. And because there's so much packed into this laptop, I'll leave a link in the description so you guys can head over there and check out some of the specs and maybe some of the different models on the ASUS website. Because truly, I cannot make a video showing you absolutely everything, because there is so much in the ASUS ProArt range that is just more than I can explain. So that's it from me. Let me know what you think of the ASUS ProArt Studiobook 16. Do you own any ProArt products from ASUS? Do you want to? Is it something that you want to get into? Let me know in the comments below. I'll happily reply to you guys. And if you've got any questions about the ASUS ProArt Studiobook, I'll do my best to answer them. So thanks for watching wherever you are in the world. Have a good day, good evening, good night. Goodbye.